All right, everybody, welcome to the man, I almost forgot the name of our podcast, bro. The real estate the hell's it called again?
Real talk, real estate talk.
Real talk. It's been a while since we do it. I'm not gonna lie to you, we're getting a little lazy with it. But Cadillac and I came up with a little twist that's gonna keep us. It's gonna kind of make us. It's like everything else, man. I have fun when we do the podcast, but I've been playing basketball with my friends, for example. Once I'm there, I'm playing basketball. But it's to say, all right, I'm gonna play basketball. You start thinking, fuck, man, I want to play basketball now, or this and that.
Getting there.
Fun, So it's the same thing. We're having fun here, but it's like, all right, we got to do the podcast, So came up with a little something that I think is really think it's gonna be something that it's gonna keep us consistent, and it's we're gonna at least do one a week where with news. We're gonna real estate news, stuff that's been happening not only in Florida but all over the country, and there's never a shortage of real estate news, you know what I mean? So things are changing. But aside from that, the cool thing about it is that if we were like just reporters, for example, right? Let's say we were some MSNBC reporter, for example. Those guys they'll read the news. Like my green drink, gotta trying to do it, man. You've lost a little bit of weight, bud.
I think I'm going the other way, but I appreciate you saying it.
The angle? Look, I gotta figure out that angle.
Not easy.
So instead of being reporters that are not in the market and are not really feeling what's going on, we are in the market and we're feeling what's going on. So we've been real good in this podcast. I mean, shit, we could rename this the Crystal Ball podcast, because we called everything that's happened pretty much. I mean, I don't think we've been wrong, and I'm not used to not being wrong, so we've called everything like one by one. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of like confirmation. Maybe we do know what the fuck we're doing. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're gonna hit the news once a week. We're gonna bring you guys with updates on everything. That's gonna keep us doing it. There's a podcast that I listen to. So I'm a big MMA guy here. Your baseball is my MMA. So every podcast that I listen to is in some way related to, even Joe Rogan, that has all kinds of people on there. It's a lot of MMA stuff, and a lot of MMA references and everything like that. So there's one podcast that I do in particular, and I can tell they're going through the same thing. They're like, how often do I do it? And so what they've been doing it after every fight. You know what I mean? So they'll do it after every fight. They'll talk about the fight and everything that's going on. And every once in a while, they'll throw in, a Wednesday one with some interesting podcast. So I'm on podcast. So it's they'll bring some stuff on a Wednesday and everything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with the news. So kind of, you have some stuff you wanted to talk about. I got some stuff that I Googled. What are you thinking as far as what you're seeing out there news wise?
Well, news wise, I mean, there's obviously been this very visceral sense that we've had that the market's been very strong. And wherever I teach all over the country, I'm hearing the exact same things. When I say teach, I teach from this chair, but I mean, who I'm talking to on Zoom it changes every day. And I'm asking all the time, what is your market doing? What's going on? Because as we've said before, Florida is kind of its own thing. Your favorite joke, it's how close it is to the United States. And so I want to make sure that, even the middle of the state of Florida, and then extending further out the panhandle and then other states, that they're seeing the same thing. And it appears that they are.
Yeah, but here's one thing in Florida, though. One article that came out last week that's going to drastically change Central Florida, and Florida as a whole is the 32,000 people that are going to be laid off for Disney. So now, are all 32,000 in Florida? No, but there's a lot of them. And that's going to kick Orlando's ass a little bit. Now, the good thing about Orlando is that people always come back and pick it up. You have some country coming in and buying them.
I hear you. The problem is that 32,000, unless it's accompanied by something else, isn't going to make a hill of beans of a difference to Orlando's market right now.
Really?
Orlando's market is so strong. I mean, so strong. It is silly from what I'm hearing. I mean, I was going up there talking about 6, 7% appreciation. They're laughing in my face and telling me we've seen double-digit appreciation, and this goes up until just the other day in our market. There is
It has to
zero.
have some. It has to have some kind of effect, though. Kind of
Well,
like,
sure. I mean, it has to have some effect, but the question is, do those people immediately leave that market? Do they go somewhere else? Where do they go? Are they going to take and find other employment in Florida? As it stands right now, the flight to quality seems to be, as we've talked about here, that it seems to be the movement to Florida. So, where are they going to go? Up to the Northeast, take and go replace all the people that are leaving the Northeast to come down here?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, look, okay, so let me rephrase and clarify. Let's call it. It ain't gonna be 32,000, but let's call it 10,000 people are losing their job there. Okay.
Sure.
Now, I think that 10,000 will turn into 32,000 anyway, because if less people are going to Orlando, there's less pamphlets, those tourists, let's call it, tourist
Sure.
location. There's less ice creams being sold, there's a less of everything. I mean, Disney is, forget about the people that are employed. It's already being affected by less people going over there, which is creating those job losses. But the market itself, the city itself is going to be affected. Everybody's going to be making less money. That city is very, very similar to like one of those college towns. Like I lived in Gainesville for a while. If University of Florida goes away, I mean, that place goes away. Gainesville disappears. There is no more Gainesville. You know what I mean?
There's
I
no
don't think
reason
Orlando's to that
otherwise.
Right. I don't think Orlando's to that extreme, but man, if Disney disappears, it ain't the same Orlando.
Look, I mean, don't forget that Disney in California is still closed. The park is closed entirely. Very
That
arbitrarily.
ain't gonna open. That's not gonna open.
Oh yeah, no. The governor there is not going to open that till 2087.
Right, so they're offering vaccines to people coming in.
Absolutely. So there's gonna have to be instantaneous COVID testing. They're nuts there. Whatever. But what I'm saying,
let's not get there, because that'll get us going in a whole different.
Yeah, man.
Get me started.
No, I mean, look, you can say what you want to. The governor here has done a very good job of giving us as much slack as they reasonably can to take and go out and do business.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky. I mean, I talk to people in other states, and I mean, it's like, oh, you don't go outside. No. I mean, it's like the zombie apocalypse. So, I mean, I think we're a little spoiled. But I will tell you this: I was just in Orlando a couple of weeks ago because I go travel everywhere. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, same here. I've been on more planes. I've been on more planes this year than I was definitely last year and the year before.
Absolutely. Well, nobody else is going, so we might as well.
Cheaper flights.
And I went to Giordano's. I don't know if you know Giordano's. It's the Chicago-style pizza place up there. I couldn't find a place to park. There was cars parked everywhere. It's like 10 o'clock at night. So the idea that Orlando is like winding down as a market, I don't know. I don't necessarily see it. The cruise lines, I know Norwegian, big cruiser. Norwegian has made a big push to have a lot more stuff going out of Orlando than they did before. They're turning Orlando into a major port for them. So all of those things. The question is, does Disney go away? And the answer is no.
No. I've never. I want to make sure I'm clear here. I've never insinuated Disney's going away or anything. I'm just saying it has to have some effect.
Sure.
On the local economy. It just does. So the person who's barely paying the self-employed guy who's barely paying, the guy who's selling ice cream in the corner, who's barely paying his house, that pay check to check, even though he has his own business, those small business, there's a lot of small businesses that are going to be affected there. They just are. Anything that has to do with tourism.
This is the thing that I've been saying for a while, that if you're going to take and try to wait this market out for a time to buy, I mean, we've already talked about mortgage interest rates being as good as they are. The only thing I can see on the horizon looking out that could maybe be a benefit to a person looking to buy is the fact that at some point the bank's forbearances are going to come to an end. And a lot of these self-employed people that you're talking about, who are not necessarily seeing in the unemployment rolls, these self-employed people who've maybe lost their businesses, now they're not going to be able to pay for their homes. And so you'll see, but again, remembering Florida's a judicial foreclosure state, which means if the banks are going to foreclose, it's a lengthy process, and there's only so many foreclosures that can come out at a time. And the other
Well,
thing
and
is,
before the pandemic, foreclosures were happening in 3 months, 4 months, and everything. It's not the case now. Courts are backed up.
oh man, well, in Broward County, no man, in Broward County, there are 2 judges that hear the foreclosure cases. There is a year and a half you're looking at. They put 60 cases on the docket at the beginning of the day. The most they'll ever get to is 20, and they take and reschedule everything else. So believe me, I have a mortgage, a note up there that we've been trying to foreclose on now for like 5 years, and maybe it's even longer than that. So yeah, Broward has been rough, but that's the thing with Florida, right? It's a judicial foreclosure state, which means it's a longer process. So that's not what the concern is, that it's going to take and inundate our market with inventory, right? That there's going to be so much supply that comes to market, it's going to get dumped in the market, that it's either going to bring down prices or at least slow the appreciation that we've seen. I think it's reasonable. What you're saying is reasonable to expect some slowing of the appreciation, but it seems like to me that Orlando is no longer just Disney. Very much so. It used to be, but it's diversified a lot into it's got its finger in a lot of different pots. It's a very international place, and there's other things going on there.
Well, but hold on. I'm not calling it just Disney. I'm just thinking out loud right now, right?
Sure.
I'm not just calling it Disney. I'm calling it tourism.
And
tourism is going to be affected as a whole when you got fucking morons like, these governors that are telling people, just to, not hang out with your family and all that kind of stuff. That's affecting tourism as a whole. You add to that, and that's what's causing the whole Disney thing. So that's a tourism. That's like Miami, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, we have other economies and everything, but Miami makes money off these festivals. Art Basel right now, Miami makes money off the tourism from the cruise ships that are no longer happening. You know what I mean? But now that I'm saying that again, I'm thinking out loud. Miami's doing great. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Think about that. I mean, I just tried to book a cruise.
That'd be right.
Cruises are canceled all the way through March already.
I'm surprised it's even. That'll get postponed too, though.
And I try to book one in April, and so we'll see what happens, right? That's what's going on, and in spite of that, it's still moving. I mean, the thing that's interesting, I mean, honestly, if you want to look at the crazy, is they're saying, hey, look, let's close the restaurants and the bars, right? Let's close them, but let's take and tax people or borrow money to pay those businesses to stay out of business so that they're okay. It's like literally we're buying food and drinks. Our grandkids are paying for food and drinks because we're going to borrow money that they're going to have to pay back, right? For food and drinks that we're not even going to get to eat. So
it's a man. The census does a good job of saying, listen, yeah, okay, first of all, we had 10,000 cases before. Now we're at 5,000. I'm not putting a mask mandate because I'm looking at the states that have the mask mandates, and they're doing same or worse than we are. Okay, we're definitely not closing schools down because that's going to have a negative effect on it. I'm comparing ourselves with other states that are having the closures and their numbers are higher than ours. So I don't give a fuck how much political pressure you guys are going to put on me. I'm looking at what most of you don't have, which is common sense.
Look,
common sense, brother.
I think I said it at the last podcast that we had.
We said we weren't going to talk about this, but we always do.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the metric that has to be looked at. The gross domestic product of Europe is down on average 8.8% since the beginning of the pandemic.
It's not bad.
The United States is 4.2%. That's a massive difference. And less people think that that's cold and heartless. That's real people being able to take and support and pay for themselves. That is all the heartache, pain, and sorrow that has been caused by, and let's not even go to suicides and how much those are up here, but way up in Europe as well.
Crime, murders.
All sorts of things. So, I've said it since the beginning, it's very childish to behave like the only metric that we have is how many people have gotten sick and how many people have died. That's a false narrative. It's not taking an adult look at this and saying, hey, look, there's more than just this. There's all the consequences of the things we've done to combat this. the law of unintended consequences. You're right. We went on to a tangent. I apologize.
Can't stop myself either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's related though, man. It's just, everything. You can't talk about anything right now without that. I mean, we're talking about. There's not one thing of real estate we're going to talk about today that's not in some way affected or another.
Sure. I mean, the thing that's crazy is it's slowly getting baked into the cake. I know I use that phrase all the time, but I mean, you're just slowly coming to terms with the fact that, yeah, I have to stand in line 6 feet apart from people. I was in the DMV yesterday. So, like, it's just, I got to go on an airplane tomorrow. I know. Like, it's not, like, I'm still mad about it, but I'm not as mad about it. It's just like, okay, that's what I got to do.
So I got a police escort the other day to get my license, right? So I go to the DMV. I get there. First of all, I didn't know. I figured I made an appointment at 10. I go in at 10.
Yeah, right? No, doesn't work that bad.
Doesn't work that way. So I made an appointment at 10. I get there and there's a line around the block. And then I get there and I'm like, damn, all right, well, let me do it. It's hot as shit, I was sweating and everything. I'm like, hey, let me ask you a question. Like, I asked 3 people in front, how long have you been here? She's like, I've been here an hour and a half. And what time was your appointment? Oh, my appointment was at 9 or something like that. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not good at math, but that tells me I'm going to be here another hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to get to not the front of the line. You know what I'm saying? So
get to where they are.
So I haul ass, I get out of there. So then the next day I got an appointment, which takes me about a week. I get there, and like everything in Miami, I couldn't really get an appointment. So I had to pay some guy that has it in with the system, like $50, and he got me the appointment, whatever. That's just Miami. Okay. So I get there and it is pouring rain. I'm talking about a fucking hurricane rain, right? Everybody with their umbrellas outside, lying around the block, everybody with their umbrellas. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So when I get there, it's like super, it's like actually pouring. Like it wasn't like drizzling or anything. So I parked my car like kind of right next to the line just so I could get in and like clock in, and be like, all right, I'm here. Hey, I'll be right back. I'm going to go park the car. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to be there for like 15 minutes, let the rain go down, dude, as soon as, I'm there 5 minutes, kind of waiting for, the rain to go down. My car's like parked like close by, not crazy illegal. Just, it was on the grass, So dude, the guy comes and he's like, sir, you got to park your car. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for the rain. No, you got to park your car right now. I'm like, I'm just waiting for the rain. Just give me a second. Nope, you got to go right now. I'm like, you fucking idiot. My feet are soaking wet. Like my feet, because the rain was coming at a sideways angle.
Yeah, there's no
way. The umbrella wasn't fucking covering it. So my feet were drenched in water, super wet. I'm soaking wet. I'm outside in the rain. I'm like, why don't you do your fucking job and hurry up so that I could go in here and get an appointment and get it done? You know what I'm saying? Dude, calls a guy. I could already see it. Calls the cops. Cops get there. They're like, what happened? I'm like, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. I'm in line. I'm soaking wet. This guy wants me to park the car right away. I told him to wait for the rain to stop. That guy's an idiot. They're like, listen, just chill. Well, they get me. They walk me all the way through. So I'm like, they walk me through the line and they open a booth for me. Lady comes in, does all my paperwork. I get my license. They walk me out. So I had a police escort through the whole thing. As I'm there, I'm hearing the guy filing a complaint with his boss for panic mode something. So he was probably gonna get 10 days off for me ruffling his feathers.
Yeah. It's PTSD for sure, 100%. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, whatever, man. Yeah,
that should definitely go in the negotiating book.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
hey, man, it saved me like an hour. It saved me an hour.
Yeah. No, I was in the line forever as well. But I mean, it's interesting because the question has been this whole time, right? Is we see the strong market we have. Is it sustainable? And that's one of the headlines that we were talking about. Is that they raised the lending limits or the lending maximums for both conventional conforming loans and FHA loans. This is the necessary step that had to happen in order for everything to stay the way that it is, in order for things to continue to move up, is those had to happen. And so that movement is basically the folks that set those criteria saying, hey, look, we see the market. We see how it is. You're not making crazy loans. None of this stuff is unreasonable that you're doing. It's just that the values of the homes have gone up and people need this much money to borrow in order to buy the same kind of home they could a few years ago. So I thought that was really good news for real estate going forward.
Yeah, I mean, so it's I hate to repeat myself, but it's what we've talked about in the last several podcasts. As long as rates stay low, almost like the world could fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Because even if unemployment goes back down to like 20% or something like that, right? And Disney actually closes down like completely. If rates are low enough, the other 80% that is still employed is going to buy, is going to refinance, right? So what's that other article I saw at something like $90,000 worth each closing offers about $90,000, either 60 or 90. It's one of those numbers, right? It's either six or the upside down. It's 9, right? So my brain works that way. This could be either one of them, but it offers some serious coin to the economy. That's the realtor, that's the mortgage broker, that's the moving company, the title company, the painter, the handyman, the U-Haul truck. I mean, it's a lot of people that eat off a closing.
Sure.
A lot of people. So right now in Florida in particular, and I'm sure we're not the only ones, real estate is saving our ass.
In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, yeah.
Right. And politics is saving our ass. Having a mayor having a governor with some common sense is also bringing people over. So between the flight, these new buyers coming in from these crazy far left type situations,
people's republics of
right, they're starting to come down here in droves. Rates staying low. I mean, who was it that told me the other day they got a 2.45?
Wow.
What is that? Like I was telling somebody, I go, in our lifetime, we're not going to see this again. We're not going to see this in our fucking lifetime. Like it's never happened before. It's very rare. Like, I don't know what would have to happen for these rates to be this low for this amount of time.
Well, I think that the word you're looking for, it's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
Really a tremendous opportunity to buy. And I mean, the interesting thing is that at some point, this is going to come to an end. So this is not something that goes on forever. At some point, this is going to come to an end. I mean, at some point, there will be inflation. And it'll be enough inflation that the Federal Reserve has to raise interest rates to do something about it. And when that happens, it's going to really put the kibosh on this. It's really going to take and slow this down. And so, I mean, I think that there's still probably room, just because of the activity that we have, there's still probably room in there for the Federal Reserve to raise rates some and still not have a tremendous effect. But I mean, these rates are ridiculously low. And the fact that the lending limits now have gone up means that you can get that very low rate on an even bigger mortgage now.
How much did they go
up? It's up to like 540,000.
Well, what was it before? They went up
501, 502, 509, somewhere like that. 50 something.
Went up like 40 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
40
grand is a lot of house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you consider that's like 8%.
I wonder if that is. I mean, that is also them understanding that real estate is pushing this thing.
Well, I think part of it is, I think it's them just accepting the fact that the prices have appreciated. And in order for somebody to get the same house they could have a couple of years ago, they have to borrow that much money to get that exact same house. So really, they haven't changed how much buying power they're giving. It's just recognizing that the money that they're giving people buys less because of what the market has done. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, prices have gone up a lot. I mean, in my market here where I am, the homes I've been looking at, nothing less than $500,000. And I mean, I was finding stuff in the low 4s before, same kind of house.
Do you know anything about? I'm hearing good things, and even though it's a Biden pick, I'm hearing good things about the new Fed. Assign.
Yellen. I mean, if there's anybody that might be willing to do negative interest rates, she might be one, just because.
What do you know about her? I've never even heard about her. I'm going to be honest.
She kept rates very low under Obama,
Yeah.
That was her big thing. Um, it does artificially make the economy look better than it necessarily should be. I mean, the real concern is, right, there has to be a certain amount of inflation in any economy for it to for it to be healthy. All right. In Japan, they have deflation. And why that matters is it's basically is this. The old people, there's so many old people in Japan that they elected people that passed laws that actually made their money more valuable now. The problem for that is all the people that were on fixed incomes, their money now goes further. But the young people now are the poor people in the economy because they're getting paid less. And these folks now are all very wealthy in comparison because the money was more valuable, or the money was more valuable. They have more of that money that is now more valuable.
Right.
That's what the reason why you don't hear about the Japanese. I don't know if you remember in the 80s, the Japanese were buying everything. They bought half of Manhattan. I mean, they bought every building. If it wasn't nailed down, they bought all the real estate. And what's happened now is all those people are now older. They're retired, and they've passed a bunch of laws that have absolutely brought their economy to a screeching halt. And so inflation, I mean, I know we talk about inflation, how it affects real estate, but it's so important to a healthy economy. And so the Federal Reserve sitting there and admitting that they haven't hit their targets of 2% means that our economy is not as healthy as they want it to be based on a very low inflation number. 2% is very low. So
Yeah, here's another thing. And I don't know how this is calculated because it's not like it's inflation, but not inflation the way that we're talking about, right? I bought a couple bikes. I bought a bike for myself. I bought a bike for my son. So I go in there. I talk to the shop owner, and I went there Black Friday, and I'm like, hey man, can I get any discount? Can I get it? I'm thinking how much of a discount I'm gonna get. You know what I mean? He laughs. He's like, there's no discount. I'm like, dude, you got to give me some discount. It's Black Friday, $5. Give me something, He goes, you're lucky you're getting a bike, right? Like he looks at me and he laughs, and I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, see that bike you're getting right there? I ordered that in February. All right. If you don't get it now, there's a guy that called in the morning. Okay, this is my last one. Okay, he's gonna come and get it. Okay, and then I'm not gonna get this bike again till maybe March or April. Okay, because I just can't get, because of COVID. I have a buddy of mine that went to the factory in China, right? And there's bikes stacked up on top of each other, that all of them are waiting for one part that they can't get.
A sprocket. Right?
Yeah, like a minor sprocket or whatever that's holding up the whole production line. So, listen, I felt that he was telling me the truth. It made sense. Like I sat down and I talked to him after, and we hung out for like 10 minutes, business owner to business owner and everything. But I still had a little bit of doubts. This guy fucking with me. Did he really, just get me out on Black Friday with zero discount or anything like that? But I go to Dick's Sporting Goods yesterday, and out of like the whole bike rack there would be 50, 60 bikes or something like that. There was fucking 10, maybe.
Yeah. Nothing.
Right? So my point is, I know I paid a lot more for that bike than I would have paid a year ago for it. So that's technically, I guess, inflation, but not in the general textbook that we're discussing.
It's normally understood, yeah.
Right. So there's a COVID. There's also a COVID
tax.
There's a COVID tax or a COVID inflation, and that's not the only thing. There was some. I'm noticing myself paying more for shit. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Like I just am.
You need it. Your options are limited, and so I mean, like, how many restaurants do you know that you can go to and get a decent meal, sit down, and whatever? Well, what are they charging? Okay, fine. Yeah. It's worth it. I have a great negotiation story that I think works really well for this because A, I know you love negotiation, and B, the guy that told me my cousin told me this story. My cousin lives in New Jersey, and he's got this friend, and he's like, this guy is the most mild-mannered guy, super quiet, but the guy is like a master negotiator. He handles patent issues for a big company internationally, and so like a lot of times the laws aren't clear in what they can do. So this guy goes in and like real pleasant, whatever. But he's just a killer. So he was telling me the story about how this guy gets a car and he goes to the one dealer, and like you say, until the dealer throws the guy out, he won't leave. He just stays there and keeps beating him up and beating him up. And then once the guy throws him out, he goes to a different dealer and says to him, "Hey, look, I know you can give me the price for the car for this price."
Right.
And he buys the car. So anyway, he's selling his home and on the Jersey Shore. And so just to give you an idea of the kind of market that we're in. So he takes and he fixes the home up. He does some stuff to it to get it like the way it should be. And then he puts it on the market for 15% above what the market says it should go for. Every agent is telling him he's nuts. He's out of his mind, right? So he gets an offer. He accepts the offer. And up there, everything is done by the attorney. So basically the job that you and I do with the inspection report, the attorney handles all that. So they do the inspection, right? The attorney writes him a letter saying, hey, look, these are the items. There's $64,000 worth of stuff. We want these $22,000 worth of things addressed, or we want a credit. And so he said, my counteroffer is nothing. I'll take it. I'll send you your deposit money back. Well, what do you mean? He says, well, my counter is nothing. I'm selling the house the way that it is, and that's it. They bought the house.
Of course.
They took it.
Of course.
Guys, you're in a market now where there's I literally had my customer the other day. As a friend of mine, they want him to sign a contract saying he'll pay whatever it is above the appraisal. He'll pay it.
That's what I'm seeing right now. I just had a seller that I'm doing comps for his house. I can't get higher than 600 with the comps. I just can't. There's nothing around for 600, right? So I go, you know what? Let's put it at 615. I think I could push it to 615. He's like, you think? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I think. And I ended up selling it for 640. Right. Here's the fucked up part though. Just got the appraisal on it. Came for 650.
Look, the reality of it is the appraisers are allowed to adjust for market trajectory. All right. The fact of the matter is the market trajectory looks like this, and saying, so like I have a closed sale back here for $595, but that was 6 months ago. Yeah. Nothing is sold and everything that's available is at $680. Well, there's no supply. At some point, the people that figure out value have to sit there and say, hey.
Yeah, so he tells me jokingly, but not jokingly, because I know him, he's a friend. So he goes, well, what? So should we put it on the market for 650 and then hopefully get 660 on it? And I reply back, it was through text. I reply back, no, let's get it off the market and wait a couple of years so it'll be worth 900. You know what I mean? So then, but he's buying another house. So then he's trying to beat the other people down for the house, right? So I'm like, dude, didn't you just get $25,000 more? You know what I'm saying?
That you were even hoping for?
Yeah, there was $5,000 on the purchase. I'm like, so I go, bro, you got to understand there's both sides to this. You know what I'm saying? Now you're the buyer. So it's one of those things. But the fact that it came back at 650, first of all, it makes me look like shit, right? But
what kind of comps did he use?
Dude, listen, man. And I know that I was right. As far as I know that, like, because Janelle, which I don't know, you guys don't know Janelle, but Janelle's been my assistant for 15 years. She's my office manager, assistant, and everything. So we rarely argue, but we always argue. We rarely argue in general, but we always argue about comparables. I mean, there's not one comparable we don't do that we don't disagree on. So, I remember, it's like, I just couldn't get, any comp anywhere. We were, she was telling me it was worth less. I'm like, no, it's worth more. So I'm the one pushing the value. Right. And I couldn't get higher than 600. Me putting in at 615 was crazy. I'm like, she's like, you're never going to get that. You're never going to get that,
So let me ask you, this is just kind of a bit of a personal question. Do you just take and send the appraisal over to her with the email that says ahem or something like that?
Listen, immediately, trust me, when I'm right, I let everybody know I'm right. When I'm wrong, I stay quiet and I shut up and I hope nobody notices. But when I'm right, I'm real bad with if I'm right, I'm gonna let you know I'm right.
So humility is not in the game plan.
No, not even close, man. So yeah, it's again, when I heard 650, I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, it made zero sense, man.
I mean,
Zero
did you
sense.
did you did you look at the actual comps they used to take and try to figure out how they got there? I mean, was
No,
it something that maybe that closed between the time that you?
I haven't. I will. I haven't yet. This happened like 2 days ago, so I haven't
Yeah, I
sat
mean,
down. And it's
just
good.
be curious
It'll
to
be a
see.
good exercise. I want to see how far they went. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what kind of adjustments they made?
Right, because they
50,000
might
because
have
it's
gone a
Tuesday.
mile. They might have gone a mile when I only went 0.5. But if they did that, I'm right because I know that neighborhood. I used to. That was my first house was in that neighborhood, so I know what the real boundaries are. Right, I know what avenue not to pass. I know what street not to pass. I could draw a square. Right, instead of doing a radius, or I could draw a square and tell you exactly what. The good news is that and this is for your new realtors out there. I would look like shit completely if I would have just come up with a number out of my ass and then show up with the buyer and be a seller and be like, hey, here's the number. I never do that anymore. I learned that many years ago, right? I show up with a laptop. I show up like with a computer and we open up and I do comparables with the seller myself. Like we are picking that price together because so he can't tell me, oh, he picked the wrong price. No, motherfucker, we both picked that price.
That
We
was
were both
us.
there. Like this is not a secret. We weren't blindfolded through this. We sat down, we looked at every comparable, and we picked those prices together. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a
So
good thing. I mean, that's a thing that I've always believed in. Even when I teach my listing class, I mean, I do it. I do it with a piece of paper, but I like even what you said even better, because the reality of it is that becomes our price.
yeah.
As soon as we take that listing, it's our price. It's your price and their price. It's both of yours and your customer's problem.
Well,
And
let
so,
me tell you guys, new realtors, it'll also help you. So if if I think it's worth 600 and you think it's worth 700, okay, show me.
yeah, how we
Here's the
get it?
comparables. Here's the radius. Here's the area. Here's the most recent comparables. Hey, here are the rules the appraisers play, which is 90 days, half a mile, whatever. Okay, tell me, I want to sell it for 7 million. Tell me where you got 700. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So that's what saves me there, that he can't be like, oh, you picked the wrong price. No, we both picked the price based on the information we were given that same day. Now, did 3 sales happen from here to then? You know what I mean?
Could be. Could be.
Maybe.
I mean, that would be really unfortunate as far as how you look on valuation, I guess. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And how do those wind up appraising? I mean, that's the other
Right. Well, how did they
question.
end up appraising if there was no comparables?
But
So
I mean, see, that's the crazy thing is that does move the bar, and that's one of those things that makes you a little bit nervous about the market is that it's appreciating as fast as it is.
yeah,
That it's maybe a little bit, but again,
moving target.
it's the benefit of cheap money. But the thing is, I mean, I know people are going to start to immediately go back to 2008, but the loans that are getting made aren't bad loans. They're loans that people have
There
income to
are
back
guys.
up.
I have. You know, I'm wondering if I could call. I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna call Jay, and I'm gonna confirm. I would say 80%. This is my number. 80% of people now don't. 80% of people don't qualify for a loan. That's my number. I'm gonna see what Jay says.
That seems high to me, but I don't know. Although I've seen some stuff recently. So.
Yeah, I really think 80% is a number. He might not pick up, but maybe I'll power call him while we're talking about this. Well, the point is, I'm seeing a lot more people don't qualify than qualify. That's
No,
a fact.
the lending criteria are strict, and that hasn't changed. The only thing that's really changed is how expensive the money is, and the money is less expensive to borrow right now. And the reality of it is, even if you're an investor, which you know how I feel, I love investors, I love investment. I mean, I borrow a ton of money with my investments. And so if you're an investor, I mean, if you're borrowing money at 4%, 3.5%, 4%, it's not hard for the property to beat that in income. There's a whole lot more properties that make sense. I mean, you and I both were dealing with that commercial deal not too long ago. I mean, what were the cap rates that we were looking at? 5.5, 4, 5, 5.25, right, Jesus?
Let me ask you a question right now. You got 100.
Yeah, finish. You got lunch. Can I call you right
I got a quick 2-second question. You're on a podcast. You're live on a podcast. Okay,
Okay.
2 seconds.
Yes, sir.
I say right now, in comparison to 2008, where everybody qualified for a loan, I'm saying that right now, 80% of people don't qualify for a loan. That we get in pre-quals that come in. What number are you seeing? Am I off?
80% don't qualify.
Yeah, out of 100 people that we come in to get pre-qualified, how many actually qualify?
Nah, I'd probably say the number's probably closer to about 50%. 50% will qualify. Well, the thing is that you have a lot of people that know what they're doing. So when they're coming in, they already know that they're ready for it because they're much more educated in 2006. So that's the major difference. So walking through the door, but out of the ones that don't know, it's like a 50-50 thing. They're coming in and they have no idea, so they're getting consulted on what they need to do to get qualified in the future. So it's more like a 50.
Well, but but hold on. I call the people that you're going to tell them for the future. I call them not qualifying. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah.
So if we count the ones that don't qualify for sure, that they're just not going to be able to buy, and the ones that don't qualify right now, they got to do their taxes for next year. Would that be 80%?
About 50-50.
Your numbers don't make sense, but you're having a lunch. Bye.
Bye.
The 50, but then there's some people, his numbers didn't make any sense. I think I'm still right based on that.
Mortgage brokers tend to look at things with rosy colored glasses. It tends to be the way.
Well, what he said was 50 don't qualify, but then there's a portion of them that don't qualify right now, but they get their shit together. They're going to be able to qualify very soon. They still don't qualify right now. You know what I mean? They got to do their taxes and everything. But that's the point. They got to do their taxes. Before they didn't have to do their taxes. They could go stated. They could go no doc. Right now they got to go back and they got to do their taxes the right way, so they don't qualify. I'm telling you. Call it 70, bro. I'm telling you. Call it 70, 100%. Even based on this conversation right now, even more, I'm more confident of it. It's just you get 10 people in a room. I'm telling you, man, 3 of them are ready to go right now.
No, I buy that. That's fair. I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, it's one of the reasons when I teach your agents, when we teach agents in general, we say to them, look, the customer says, I'm waiting. Well, while you're waiting, why don't you figure out what you need to do so that when you think you're ready, you actually are ready? Because there are those 2 concurrent things running simultaneously.
Yeah, what I tell my realtors is explain to the client, listen, you're going to either get a yes or a checklist of shit you need to get so it could be a yes next year.
Exactly.
You're not getting a no.
Let's get the
checklist. You're going to get a no, right? You're going to get a, hey, you're ready right now, or here's what you need to do to get ready.
Let's get some certainty.
Doesn't cost you a penny. Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean?
Of course.
So,
no, it's a very interesting market we're in. The lending criteria changing allows for what's gone on to continue. It's a recognition of what we've seen, and it's actually a recognition that what we've seen appears to be based in good, rock solid growth, economic growth, and not an irrational bubble, which I think is a lot of people's concern. So that bodes well. I mean, I know obviously they didn't get it right in 2008, but if there's one thing they don't want to do, it's do 2008 all over again. So they're not going to make those same mistakes. And the only big change really has been what the interest rates have been, and the fact that 2019 was the best year for wage growth this country had seen in over 50 years. I mean, people really
erased now.
Well, yes and no. If you got a pay raise, not a lot of people got pay cuts. I mean, maybe you got fired.
You got fired, yeah. It's black or white. You either got fired or not.
But most people actually are still doing pretty well. And most of the people that we're talking about that got fired aren't people that were buyers anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the Disney folk that you're talking about, they're probably renters. Disney's not known for paying their people super well.
So here's another thing why, so Florida, I remember 2000, has to have been 2008, 2009, where it was George Bush flew into, was it George? Yeah, it was George Bush. Yeah, it was George Bush flew into, it was the tail end of his presidency, or was it Obama that flew in? Well, the point is that a president, I'm pretty sure it was George Bush, flew into the Punta Gorda area here in Florida, right? Flew in like if it was the epicenter of foreclosures in the country. They flew into it like if we had just gotten hit by a tsunami.
Yeah.
Right. And they wanted to be, with the shot, with the dead bodies in the back because they're there. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was, the worst of the worst, period, end of story. All over the news. Florida was the worst, most fraud, blah, 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 blah. Right. Let me tell you something. We are going to be the best right now because of DeSantis, and because the moves that he's making right now, and the fact that decisions up in Washington can't be made state by state as much. They got to take everything as a whole. They got to take the average, right? So they got to take into account New Jersey, New York, California, these Washington, right? The other Seattle, right? The Portland. What state is it? What state is Seattle in? It's Portland, right? Oregon. There we go. Oregon.
No, Seattle's in Washington. Portland is in Oregon. Oregon is in Portland.
Those crazy sons of bitches.
Portland is in Oregon.
The ones that took over the mayor. What's the name? Where are they? What state are they in?
The autonomous zone was in Seattle.
The autonomous zone is where? Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah. Okay, so which is
special kind of crazy.
Which is Oregon. I'm horrible at this. So it was just Seattle. Seattle's
is in Washington State.
That's what I mean. Okay, so that guy. All right. Everybody just realized how stupid I am throughout this. Leo, if you could cut this out. I'm just kidding. So they're gonna have to Jersey shut down completely. New York. So tell me I'm crazy here, but they're gonna have to average all those things out. They're gonna have to, and there's some that I'm not mentioning, and they're gonna have to keep rates low. They're gonna have to keep stimulus going. They're gonna have to keep everything going to get the United States of America up. But Florida is going to be nice and rosy the whole way through.
Well, the benefit that we have is.
Am I wrong there?
No, I agree with you to a large extent. I think you're absolutely right, actually. The benefit that we have is exactly what you said, in the sense that the policy, the economic policy, is largely set, or what the thing that is largely determining whether or not a state's economy is good or poor is being set by the governor, whereas the thing that the people that determine what the economic atmosphere is going to be is determined federally. So you actually picked on a brilliant point, which is that they set the policy for what the Federal Reserve and what interest rates are going to be doing federally
as a whole.
But locally, we've actually our governor has been, whether you love him or hate him, he's been more flexible in what he allows. He's allowed us to take and make the decision for ourselves, more so than telling us what we can and can't do.
Well, listen, you're in a state that you can run your business, and no, you're not going to get looted. You know why you're not going to get looted? Because he ain't going to take that shit. He called it very, very clearly. So if you're running a business, right? So my buddy Leon called me the other day. My buddy Leon, my best friend, I've known him since I'm 43 right now. I've been friends with him, talking every single day. We've gone to every school together since we were 7. So I've known this piece of shit for 36 years, right? So point is, he's getting really sentimental on me. Lately, he's been getting really emotional. He called me the other day super depressed because a bike shop, he lives in California, a bike shop, right? No, he has to live there because of what he does for a living. So you guys could make 2 and 2 there. So he's really depressed because a bike shop that's been around for 50 years is closing down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's not going to happen here. And if you have a bike shop and you have to close down, and you're like, all I know how to do is be a bike shop owner, you come to a state like this where they're not going to loot you. They're not going to shut you down. They're not going to do. So we're going to gain not only quantity, but I think we're going to gain a lot of quality. I think we're going to gain a lot of business owners. I think we're going to gain, I think real estate is obviously, it's definitely going to stay healthy. Oh, so back to my point of the president. So back then we were the epicenter of the shitstorm, like for real. Now I think we're going to be the other way around. I think we're going to be shown as an example of like, hey man, look how good real estate is doing in Florida because things were used common sense, right? So like he said, if hospitalizations are down half, right? Why am I going to shut down Florida because South Dakota or North Dakota are on fire? Why am I going to do it here? Why am I going to shut schools down? And by the way, the blowout for the political pushback and the pushback from the parents and everything for the schools was crazy. Even in New York, they were like, dude, no, you're not closing schools down. Open them back up.
No, it's been it's been a very interesting time to watch the different views that people have of what they feel comfortable telling people to and not to do. I mean, some places look at it as guidance, like, hey, this is what you should do if you want to be safe. Other places, it's a mandate. You can't have too many people over for Thanksgiving. You can't. You mustn't. And I think there's a big portion of the population that's going to take and really rub the wrong way. They don't want to be told. Look, the reason why your friend is getting sentimental is he's been largely in prison. I mean, you really can't go out in those places. There's very limited things you can leave your house to do. I'm sorry, the place that's very much like that is prison. That's where they take and block you up where you can't go out and do what you want to do.
Dude, so my other friend, he's a teacher at a very high-end school, very high-end. I can't tell you what state or what city it is. I don't want to, but he sends me pictures the other day of PE, right? If you put jail uniforms on those kids, you can't tell the difference of a prisoner doing yard time than somebody doing PE. They're all completely separated. Okay, they're on an open field, right? Dude, come on. What the fuck? Where is the common sense? Where is the common sense, guys?
We will see.
I told my son, and I told my daughter, I go, listen to what I'm telling you. You're not wearing a mask while you're doing PE. I'm telling you right now, you're not doing it. You're not doing it. No, but the teacher says, you tell the teacher to call me. Okay, you can wear it. You can wear it the whole time in school. I'm not gonna become difficult with that. I get it. You are not gonna be in 100-degree weather. Bro, my son started getting crazy rashes all over his face, like nasty rashes from wearing the mask and the heat. He has sensitive skin anyway, but just from being in 100-degree weather, running laps with a mask. Come on, guys. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
It's just not right, man.
No, look, my brother is on that train big time. He won't let his daughter wear it, period. She goes to a daycare where they don't require it. And like, I was trying to get them to come fly down. And he's like, no, my wife won't let her go on a plane because they're going to make her wear a mask and she's never going to wear a mask. But he's that guy. Well, you want to talk about the ultimate? He has a mask that is made out of cheesecloth. You can see through his mask. You can literally see his face inside the mask. He's like, it's just my big middle finger to the whole thing.
Right.
Because he hates it. He thinks it's a bunch of nonsense. Somebody said the other day, there's all these cases of COVID and not one case of the flu. It's crazy.
Disappeared to cure.
Yeah, they cured the flu. But,
it's crazy. Kind of like I got to get out of here.
Yeah, man, it's been good.
So yeah, we're good. We're back in action, man. We're back once a week for sure. Twice a week, possibly, probably.
You let me know.
Yeah, if you guys go on our podcast, on our Instagram, what's our podcast name again, Cadillac? I can't believe I have
Real
that.
Estate Talk with Jesus Castaneda.
Real Estate Talk, right? So at Real Estate Talk on Instagram, go in there, and any subjects that you guys want to talk about, anything on the news you guys want to talk about, let us know. And all right, I'll see you guys soon. All right, Cadillac, thanks, brother.
See you, bud.